that time of year again, and the 2021 Arnold Classic is now less than 1 week away. Since Sergio Oliver Jr. threw down the gauntlet to other competitors earlier in the year, it promises now to be one of the most stacked lineups in its history, perhaps the most stacked ever. Anyway, here's the confirmed lineup. From the States: Max Charles, Justin Rodriguez, Akeem Williams, Nick Walker, Sergio Oliver Jr. and Steve Cooklow. From Egypt: Mohammed El Aman, Hassan Mustafa. From South Korea: Sung Chul Lee, hope I pronounced that correctly. From Canada: Ian Valliere. From the Netherlands, and last year's Arnold winner, William Bonac. Last but not least, from the Dutch Caribbean island of Curaçao, fan favourite, Roelly Winkler. A couple of people that couldn't make it: Lionel Bayeki, Cedric McMillan, both had to pull out, Lionel for visa issues, and Cedric due to an injury sustained late last year. So right off the bat, this is going to be very, very difficult to predict. There are at least 6 bodybuilders who could be in that top 3. So it's certainly ripe for an upset if one of those dark horses comes in more shredded or more in shape than the others. Added to that, not a single one of them is lacking in size. But anyway, here goes with my prediction. Number 6, Sergio Oliver Jr. I think Sergio is going to come in peeled, he always does, but his tall structure has been a hindrance for him in the past. At 5'11", he's at the upper end of the ideal pro bodybuilder height range. I know that he's made a huge effort to put on size this past year, but I still think that he's fighting an uphill battle when it comes to his overall shape, which is of course genetically predetermined. Sergio has put a lot on the line here for this contest, but simply put, and as odd as this sounds, I think he will look out-muscled here on stage. Number 5, Steve Cooklow. Unlike Sergio, Steve is a great example of a taller bodybuilder who has properly filled out his frame. It's certain that his size will put others in the shade on stage. However, after his recent loss to Ian Valliere at the Texas Pro, his game plan has been to come in more shredded. So far he's 4 or 5 pounds down from his Texas Pro weight. And I think this is going to affect his size, of course it will do, which I think will be to his detriment in this lineup. Number 4, Ian Valliere. Ian has gained some huge momentum coming into the show off the back of 2 recent wins at Tampa and Texas. He's shown that he can consistently dial his conditioning in on show day and get in that first call out. He has both mass and the shape to hang with any of the other bodybuilders in this contest. His one glaring flaw, and everybody knows this, is his non-existent calves. It's certainly not held him back in previous contests, but this is the Arnold and he cannot afford to be incomplete in any areas. Still, I expect Ian to be in his best condition here and again place ahead of Steve Cooklow. Number 3, Nick Walker. So despite Nick's very confident assertion on Fouad Abiad's recent podcast that he will win, I don't think he is quite there yet from a muscle maturity perspective. Sure, he has the size, conditioning, decent shape, but he's still lacking those etched in details, especially in the crucial back department. That only comes with more time in the gym, and Nick is still only 27 years old, the youngest competitor here. Still a top 3 at your first showing at the Arnold's is not bad. And if he manages to keep his health in check, then he's going to do some great things in this sport. I have no doubt about that. Number 2, Akeem Williams. Akeem Williams is another freak who until recently did not manage to quite get it together on competition day. But last year's 6th placing at Olympia was his calling card to the bodybuilding world, putting everybody on notice that he had eventually arrived. Certainly not lacking in any areas, but I think his most impressive body part are his colossal arms. He's the only guy that's on a par with Roelly in the gun department. So why don't I think he'll win? Well, his Achilles heel is his back. His very high lat insertions are something which, unfortunately, he cannot overcome. And as the saying goes, bodybuilding shows are won from the back. So at the elite level, you simply cannot afford to have any weaknesses in this area. Number 1. This probably comes as no surprise to many people, but my first place choice is William the Conqueror Bonac. The 2-time Arnold winner has also been a top 5 Olympian for the past 5 years. Together with Rowley, he's the only true elite level bodybuilder in this year's contest. That unrivaled, detailed muscle separation comes from 27 years of training. And just to put that in perspective, he's been training for as long as Nick Walker has been alive. What he lacks in the shoulder width of the other competitors, he more than makes up for in sheer muscle density and detail. It's this elite level conditioning which separates the good from the great. And if he comes in shape on show day, nobody can stop him. Notable mention, and I hope he competes this year, Rowley Winkler. In past years, Rowley would certainly be a top 5 person, but he's undoubtedly faded recently, and a lot of people have put this down to his age. He's 44. But I think it's more to do with his inability to train consistently for the past year due to COVID. He has, however, made some great improvements between his last 2 shows, and now he's had more time to dial it in. Still, I don't believe we'll see the Rowley of the past year, and that's unfortunate since for many, including myself, this past Arnold Australia winner and top 3 Olympian really does epitomise bodybuilding more than anybody else right now. So there it is, my top 6 predictions for the 2021 Arnold Classic. I'd really be interested to hear what you have to say about my placings. Thanks.